Hello, welcome to another edition of FortiGuard Live. I'm Derek Manky, and joining me, as always, is Aamir Lakhani. How you doing, Aamir?
I'm great, Derek. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, very well. I can't really complain. I know we always have so many interesting things to talk about. It keeps us up late at night sometimes, but it's also good to solve these problems, right? The day in the life of us.
Absolutely. You know, the good work never ends, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. It keeps me excited for sure, and I know you're on your toes all the time too. So let's talk about we're in tis the season. I think always the season now for online shopping. It's definitely been a big driver ever since the pandemic began. Just naturally, a lot of more people at home. A lot of stores, big box stores that had their doors shut for a while. Even smaller stores. So distribution of e-commerce has been through the roof. Not surprisingly, if we look at even our FortiGuard data, we often talk about the threats, but don't forget we also have application control as an example, web filtering for categorization. We're able to see legitimate traffic as well, like to online shopping sites as an example. What's the volume or increased demand that we're seeing, and just looking at some of the data in Q4. There's been a rise in this, not surprisingly again, but the numbers are still alarming. I mean, we're seeing over 1 billion, different hits in October going to e-commerce sites. I think that number was up almost 140%. Obviously, these sites are also targets themselves. So as usual, there's two sides of the coin. We have the servers and the sites themselves being compromised because there's high traffic flows. So attackers know if they can get there, that they have more victims in their attack surface. But then we also have these sites that are preying on the victims as well. So we have to obviously educate on that. With that said, what are some of the trends you're seeing? I mean, obviously there's all these events through the holidays, right? You have Black Friday, Cyber Monday, other big e-commerce, platforms that are offering deals and discounts. What are you seeing?
It seems like all year has been like a Cyber Monday or whatever you want to call it, because in the entire 2020, everyone's online. And for anyone this year, I mean, I'm sure you've experienced it. Try to buy the latest video game system or weights or like a workout equipment or anything you want. You're fighting in line to get that. There's all these queues. There's all these shopping carts. I'm sure some people have even experienced adding things to their checkout and all of a sudden disappearing because the inventory is now gone. So it's interesting when you said 1 billion, right? I think you said 1 billion. It's just in 1 month, and that shows. I'm not surprised, because that shows just about how much, how popular online shopping has become. And it's definitely become like a target for attackers, right? They know this. And a lot of attackers are still concentrating on what we call client-side attacks. So they're attacking the victim. The victim in this case is a person shopping online. They're trying to do it through phishing attacks, through malware, through man-in-the-middle attacks, like to take over your wireless or a proxy server. Mm-hmm. We've seen attacks against the routers or other IoT devices, but I'm going to really say the routers, the edge devices as well. So they're trying to really direct you on where you're going to go, intercept your transactions, or maybe trick you in some way. But let's not forget the retailers themselves. And this is the scary part, because traditionally at the end of the year, this is when retailers go into the black. Like the term Black Friday sometimes gets used. Historically, Black Friday was like when retailers became profitable, right? So imagine you think you're profitable after your big sales month, and all of a sudden you realize there's been an attack, a cyber attack, and maybe your sales weren't really real, or they didn't count, or you lost them. That's horrible. That's horrible to think about in a business, because you're counting on that to make it through the next year.
Yeah, a lot of inadvertent effects that happen from these attacks, right? The collateral damage, I guess, right? Because you have things like, essentially with these virtual queues now and all this influx of traffic, you have distributed denial of service happening just from legitimate traffic, right? People trying to, as you say, get in queue and log in because there's just way more demand than there was before. And there's also obviously the logistics, the supply chain issues, and with supply chain and all that always comes security. complexity, right? So that's definitely a big thing. I was looking at some of the data also for, again, talking about the servers that are, the sites themselves and those shopping carts that are under attack. That's also a big problem. I was looking at some of our data in terms of our IPS coverage, and there's a lot of these e-commerce platforms, right? The shopping cart platforms, some of them quite old. Like some of the biggest volume for attacks we're seeing are CVEs from 5 years ago, in some cases 10 plus years, which is very old infrastructure. So it also kind of paints a picture of, I guess, what needs to be upgraded out there.
It definitely does. Like, remember when we see hits, we're seeing attempted attacks, right? Not necessarily successful attacks. So attackers, and now I have to say this with a grain of salt, because attackers know that a lot of people aren't going to upgrade systems. And even websites, when you upgrade websites, you may be upgrading the backend infrastructure of the website, but you may not necessarily be upgrading the e-commerce piece, which is, at best case scenario, maybe a plugin. At worst case scenario, it's something that's customized or very integrated into the system itself. So it's hard for them to upgrade that portion. And that's exactly what attackers know about. And so that's why they're targeting these old attacks, which they know does work, all right? I mean, even if the website's been updated, maybe the backend hasn't been updated all the way.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing about this attack surface, so every year we talk about, I've been here 16 years at Fortinet now. You've been in this space a long time. And every year it's a relevant threat, I would say, right? But I think the difference this year is that a lot of the times in the past, this comes in surges or waves, right? Just before a big event like a Black Friday or Cyber Monday or, holiday season deals, you'll see that surge and then it'll subside. I think the difference now is that this surge, this wave has been building. It's not subsiding. It's been going since the summertime now, really, because it's just more and more people. The availability for physical shopping is just less, and the demand is getting higher, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, in the past, we've definitely seen the surge during the holiday time period, as well as Valentine's Day, or really another big shopping period. But this, 2020, that surge started in March and just continued. Everyone wanted to do online shopping. Things that I know, I have friends that would have never done online shopping for things like groceries and for just basic household appliances. And now they're doing it. They're trying, that's our number one source for getting goods and services for a lot of people. And that means there's attacks out there. You could be going to the most reputable, reseller out there, the most reputable e-commerce site that has done all the back-end work and security. But if you're attacked by a phishing email and that's stealing your credit card information or redirecting you to a fake website, there's nothing you can do about that from a standpoint of, except being aware of it, because it's not the e-commerce site that's being victimized. It's you that's being victimized.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about that. Like I said, there's always two sides of the fence to security. Usually more, but in general, two sides. Obviously, the server client scenarios, right, where you have like we said, the website's being attacked, but going down to the consumers. So let's talk about the consumers first. What are the main threats, and what are some of the practices that users should be aware of? For example, there's obviously the typical things we see, like typo squatting and these other sorts of things to look out for, right?
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think the first thing is obviously being really aware of, what you're clicking on, the websites you're going to. I think the second thing I would say is go to reputable websites, e-commerce sites, retailers that you've heard of, that hopefully keeps things safer. Have good security software on your systems that will usually check against, malware URLs, phishing URLs, other types of malware that can get on your system. And then lastly, what I recommend to people is a lot of banks are offering things like dissolvable credit card numbers, one-time use credit card numbers that you can you can just generate it for a single transaction or a single retailer as well. Hey, that helps, right? That helps keep things under protection. So there's a lot of things I think consumers can do just by really, which advice I need to give myself is slow down a little bit and just be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, being aware of the surroundings is key, I think. Again, I talk about that a lot. This false sense of security people are always in, I think, when it comes to these virtual worlds. And, sitting in your comfortable chair, if you could get one, because they're all sold out on the e-commerce sites, and doing more shopping. And we always talk about the typical things, I think, which still take into effect, like watching out for, if you are not in your home, looking out for things like rogue access points for Wi-Fi shopping, and obviously you mentioned the dissolvable cards. That's great. Also, multi-factor authentication for these sites. Most of the major players offer that, of course, right? And it's relatively easy these days.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, I think if you are an e-commerce site, most likely a lot of them have gone to like public cloud providers, multiple public cloud providers. We're still seeing attacks on the enterprise side against, as you said, old systems. Like we still see the Apache struts vulnerability. That's, I think, coming up 3 years now. Other website vulnerabilities as well. We're still seeing things like just basic misconfigurations, like on your storage buckets and your public cloud compute access systems. I think it's really important to make sure that's locked down, with multi-factor authentication, with, secure authentication, making sure all the inner pieces that connect to each other, right? Whether it's cloud, whether it's container-based technology, whatever those inner changes are, that they should be very, very secure and tested, continuously tested as well. Whether it's pen testing or breach simulation attacks, or having it on a secure fabric architecture.
Yeah, great points, and I think definitely something to be front of mind right now. Like I said, this wave is not slowing down anytime soon, I don't think, and it's become part of this reality. So it's real, and like I said, it is a significant difference, I think, from the years past. So yeah, great conversations as always. Definitely to the viewers and listeners out there, I think some good tips to keep in mind. This is something that affects really all of us. So stay vigilant, stay safe. Thanks again, Aamir, for your time. It was great to see you and talk to you.